Hello, everyone. Welcome to my first YouTube video. Today, we're going to be talking about the NBA draft, and I'm going to be rating every first round pick. Now, we've had a lot of first round picks, 30 of them, and I'm going to be rating all of them. So, let's get to it. Starting off with the Magic drafting Paolo Banchero with the first overall pick, I'm going to rate this pick at I'm going to rate it at an A. I think Banchero is a great player. He has unparalleled upside. He's also very skilled, and I think he's a good fit for the Magic, considering un considering Jonathan Isaac's very interesting, not interest, very questionable health recently. So I think it's a good pick, and I'm going to rate it at an A. Next up, we have the Thunder drafting Chet Holmgren. I'm going to rate this at an A plus. I know that's a very high, but I think Chet is an incredible player, a great player, I guess. He's also an incredible system fit, being their weakest position center, and he can also play power forward, which is their second weakest position, and he looks great. Next up, we have the Rockets drafting Jabari Smith out of Auburn. I think Jabari Smith is another great player. I think this is a good pick. I'm going to rate it at an A, just like Banchero. I think he was maybe not, he was the best pick available. He helps them in a position they need. So I'm going to rate this pick at an A. So this first three was basically guaranteed to happen in some order. So this is how I have it, and you may have it differently. So next up, we have the fourth pick. We have the Kings drafting Keegan Murray. This is very interesting because Murray is, in my opinion, skilled enough to be good enough to do this at this level, at being a top four pick. I don't think the Kings should take him. What I mean by that is that Keegan Murray isn't a great system fit because he's a power forward, and Harrison Barnes, who's another great player for them, has been a power forward. So Ivy, in my opinion, would have been a better pick here. But Murray's still good, so I'm going to rate this pick at a B plus. Next up, we have the Pistons drafting Jaden Ivey. This is a good pick. Once again, I feel like they would have taken Keegan had he been available, but he wasn't. Ivy's still great. He's athletic, fast, relatively young, and he's out of Purdue, and he's going to be great for them, helping out shooting guard, which is one of their weaker positions. Next up, we have the Pacers drafting Benedict Mathurin. Benedict Mathurin is one of the better players in this draft. He's a little bit more experienced, and I think this is a good pick for them. He can run small forward, he can run shooting guard, depending on the state of Malcolm Brogdon and TJ Warren. He's going to slide into either role. So I just think this is a great pick, and I'm going to rate it at an A. Next up, we have Ivy is an A as well. Next up, we have the Blazers drafting Shaden Sharp. Shaden Sharp is an athletic player. He's quite good, and I think he's going to be a good pick for them. He is one of the better scorers, one of the better players in this draft. I think if he was maybe 1 year younger, I think he could have potentially gone in the top four, but still great, and I'm going to rate this pick at an A. I think he's going to be good for Portland. Next up, we have Dyson Daniels being drafted by the New Orleans Pelicans. The Pelicans drafted a great playmaker and Daniels, an okay scorer, and he's a decent defender. He's good. He can play point guard. He can play shooting guard, maybe even some small forward. And he's a great player, so I'm gonna rate this pick at an A minus. I feel like it's a great pick. Next up, we have the Spurs drafting Jeremy Sochan out of Baylor. Sohan, is it so? I'm gonna say Sohan. Sohan out of Baylor. Sohan is quite good now. He has good potential. He isn't the most ready prospect in this draft. I wouldn't even say the most ready prospect on the board, but he is still has great potential and can be good. And the Spurs are notorious for developing well. Sohan being a power forward, helpful. I guess he's going to be good for them. All right, guys, slight interruption, but we're back. I'm going to rate the Jeremy Sohan pick at an A minus. I think it's a good pick, and I think he's going to turn out to be quite solid for them, or at least quite solid, not necessarily maybe for them. Next up, we have the Wizards drafting Johnny Davis. Johnny Davis is pretty good. He's pretty solid defensively, and pretty good offensively. Um, he's relatively proven, and maybe under Brad and with the questionable status of Bradley Beal, and whether he's returning next season, this could be potentially very important. Okay, so I'm gonna rate this pick at an A minus. I like it. Next up, we have the Thunder drafting Usman Jang. I'm going to rate this pick at. I'm gonna rate it at B minus. I know this is the lowest pick so far, but it's because Usman Jang is unproven. He has potential. I agree. He has potential, but he's very unproven and he's very raw. Now the Thunder are willing to take chances. They aren't in a championship or playoffs or something next season, but I feel like Jang, there could have been a better pick here. So I'm gonna rate this at a B minus. Next up, we have Jalen Williams being drafted by the Thunder at 12. I like Williams. I think he's good. I think he's one of the better players in the class, even if he isn't necessarily the youngest. And he's quite proven. So I'm gonna rate him. I'm gonna rate this pick at an A minus. I like it. Next up, we have the Detroit Pistons, I guess, drafting Jalen Duran. I guess the Hornets drafted Jalen Duran, which is good. So I'm gonna rate that. But they traded him, so this is really for Detroit. Detroit, I'm rating this at an A. I like Durant a lot. I think he's has potential to become a star, especially in Detroit, growing alongside so many other young players like Jaden Ivey, who was drafted, Kate Cunningham, um, Sadiq Bey, Isaiah Stewart, and I feel like he can really come into his own. The Cavs drafted Ochai Agbaji. So I'm gonna rate this at an A. Next up, we have Ochai Agbaji out of Kansas. He was a big part of that, helping that team that won the national championship. He's very proven. However, he is a little bit older. So for that reason, However, the Cavs, they want a good backcourt partner for All-Star Darius Garland. So at. I'm gonna rate this pick at an A minus. I like it. Next up, we have the Hornets drafting Mark Williams out of Duke. Williams is a good center. He's performing well. He can help a really lackluster. I personally would have rather kept Duran and maybe dealed Williams here to Detroit, but I'm not a GM. So I'm gonna rate this pick at a B plus. Next up, we have the Hawks drafting AJ Griffin. I feel like AJ Griffin could have gone as high as around 9. I feel like the Spurs maybe should have taken him because he can probably run some shooting guard at power forward. Maybe Keldon Johnson can. I don't. However, it is good here. The Hawks need wings. After they tried Danilo Gallinari in 2020, didn't really work out because Gallinari's slow, and he couldn't really keep up as a small forward, which is surprising. So I think this is a good pick. It helps out one of their weaker positions in wings. So I'm going to rate this pick at an A. Next up, we have Tari Eason. I like Tari Eason. I think he's very versatile. He can play small forward, power forward. I think he's also a great player. He's one of the better ones in the class. I think he's going to gel really well with Jabari Smith. So for those reasons, I'm going to rate this pick at an A. Next up, we have the Bulls drafting Dalen Terry out of Arizona. Terry's quite solid with a lot of potential, but he isn't necessarily one of the best players in the class. For that reason, I'm going to rate this pick at an A minus. I think it's pretty good. Next up, we have the T-Wolves Memphis drafting Jake LaRavia. I think this is pretty good. LaRavia is young. He's solid. I'm gonna rate this pick at a B plus, and the reason for this is I feel like maybe it might have been a little bit smarter to go for someone like Nikola Jovic or Marjan Bouchon here, but still, Laravia is pretty good. Next up, we have the Spurs drafting Malaki Branham. Branham is quite versatile. He can play as a shooting guard, as a small forward. He'll probably be running a lot of shooting guard in that Spurs team. Maybe he'll get a starting role alongside DeJounte Murray, and he's pretty good. So well, for those reasons, I'm going to rate this pick at an A minus. Next up, we have the Nuggets drafting Christian Broad. Christian Broad is another proven player, like Ochai Agbaji, although maybe not as good. I like Braun, and so I'm going to rate him at an A. I feel like he can become a very solid starter, maybe even an all-star at some point for the Nuggets. I feel like he's a steal here. 22, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves drafting Walker Kessler. I'm gonna rate this at a B. I feel like Kessler is good, but I feel like there might have been better picks here. Minnesota, they have centers already, and they have a center already in Karl-Anthony Towns. Maybe he can. I don't really like this pick, to be honest. Next up at 23, we have the Sixers drafting the Memphis Grizzlies drafting David Roddy. I'm gonna take this at a B plus. I like Roddy. I just don't think he's gonna get much opportunity. Also, the Sixers, great job getting D'Anthony Melton out of the 23rd pick, and Danny Green. That's definitely a double deal for the Sixers. Next up, we have the Bucks, who drafted Marjon Bouchon. Marjon Bouchon is quite a good shooting guard to small forward. He can play very versatile, and he'll probably be good for the future for the Milwaukee Bucks. Good pick there. I'm gonna rate it at an A minus. Next up, we have the Spurs drafting Blake Wesley, and I don't know much about Blake Wesley. He's admittedly probably the first round prospect I know the least about, but he's still pretty solid in the limited things I know about him. So I'm gonna rate this at a B plus. Next up, we have the Mavericks drafting Wendell Moore. The Minnesota Timberwolves drafting Wendell Moore. I know a bit more about Moore. I like him. I feel like they needed this more than they needed Kessler. So I'm gonna rate this at a B plus. Next up, we have the Heat drafting Nikola Jovic out of Mega Mozart. Jovic is good. He played well in Europe at Mega Mozart. So now he moves to Miami, and I think he's going to be pretty good for them as a late first-round pick. So I like him. Next up, the Warriors drafting Patrick Baldwin. This is interesting. Baldwin is interesting because he played well. He was one of the top prospects of this draft, like a top 10 pick going into college. But then he wasn't really great at college. He struggled with injuries. It just wasn't that great. So as a result, his draft stock plummeted. But I still think he can be pretty solid. For the Warriors, I'm going to rate this at a B+. Next up, we have the Grizzlies drafting Ty-Ty Washington Jr. Ty-Ty Washington, the Rockets drafting him. The Grizzlies trading him makes sense because Ja Morant is probably going to be on the NBA this season, and taking away minutes from Ty-Ty, who's a rookie who has lots of potential. I think he can do well in Houston alongside Kevin Porter. They can split minutes. It's going to be good for development. So I think I'm going to rate this pick at an A minus, at an A plus for Houston, just because I really like Ty-Ty Washington. And I think getting him at 29 this late is a steal. Next up, we have the Denver Nuggets drafting Peyton Watson. After that, JaMychal Green trade. This is pretty good. So I like Watson. I think he can be pretty solid for them. So I wrote this pick at a B plus. Thank you for watching my video. This has been great, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace.